Hey there, everyone. This is Joyce Sang, content marketer and founder based in Hong Kong. I help those with an entrepreneurial mindset explore their full potential with content. First of all, Happy New Year and welcome to 2023. I hope you all have had a well spent and enjoyable New Year's break. And of course, spend some time at the end of last year to review all of your content efforts to see what has worked well and what needs a bit of improvement in the upcoming new year. I did exactly that as well myself and came up with all of my best performing content in the end of last year, hopefully looking for potential gaps and new improvements I can deploy myself in the upcoming new year. I want to deep dive into today's topic, which is about creating your own content strategy by yourself and some of the tips that I have as a professional content marketer for you. For those of you who are new to this channel, be sure to check out all my other videos, like, comment, and subscribe. And now let's get into it. Let's start from the beginning. First of all, what is a content strategy? Now, a content strategy, in short, is a plan for you to identify the content that you need to produce in order to attract your target audiences and at the same time deliver your brand message. Usually, a content strategy encompasses three main parts. The first part being your brand messaging, which outlines your key mission, your vision, the things that you want to deliver as a brand. Secondly, your target audience persona that outlines all of the struggles, dreams, desires, questions, and things that you can add value to your target audiences. Now, third being your content pillars. In short, a content pillar stands for the open-ended topics of content that you should create in order to align both your brand messages as well as attract and engage your target audiences. Now, I have to admit, as a content marketer myself, knowing how to compile a content strategy has been highly advantageous for me in starting my own business. But that doesn't mean that anybody without marketing background or content creation experience can't create their own content strategy, which is exactly why I've recorded this video for you. The first thing you need to tackle is branding. What that means is you need to step outside of just deciding on your brand colors, brand fonts, and logos, so on and so forth, and really think about the identity of your brand. What does your brand stand for? What does your brand represent? What is it trying to say to people? And what is the ultimate outcome it's trying to deliver through your services or your products or your different deliverables? Now, if you're an entrepreneur like myself and you started your business in order to solve a problem that you had yourself, thinking about branding isn't actually as complicated as it sounds. All you need to do is to break it down into three parts. First being the problem, second being the solution, and third being the end goal. What that means is identify the problem that your company is trying to solve. Then think about the solution that you're able to offer in order to help your target audiences solve that problem. Thirdly, what is the end stage that you can bring them to, which is better than where they are right now? Once you've consolidated those three, you actually end up with something that's very closely relevant to building a brand mission. Now, take myself as an example. For Joyce Sang Content Marketing, I started because I had the same problem of attracting different opportunities. I didn't want to go out and network with everybody, speak to a lot of people, go and send out CVs all the time. Rather, what I did was I used content to attract all these opportunities. That was my solution, and it worked. So therefore, the end stage that I ended up with was that I was able to explore in a slasher lifestyle just by creating content, attracting all these different opportunities I would otherwise not have, and now ultimately quitting my full-time job and starting my own business. With that said, in consolidation, once I've written it all down, it ends up being that one sentence I always start off all of my YouTube videos with. I help those with an entrepreneurial mindset explore their full potential with content. Now, I know that might be easier said than done. Refining all the aspects of your brand into a single liner can be very difficult. So if you're struggling to put them all into one single sentence, my suggestion to you is to grab a piece of paper and a pen and write all the aspects of your brand down. That may include values, assets, deliverables, services, products, features, anything you can think of. And then grab a highlighter pen and highlight the ones that seemingly have common grounds. Let's just say that one of your values is to inspire people about content creation, and one of your deliverables is content creation. Highlight those two, and what you will end up with is a sheet full of different terms that's highlighted in different colors. Now, try and line up those different keywords within the same highlighted color into a sentence. You should end up with several sentences. Now look at those and think about how each of these sentences encompass perhaps different or common things that you can actually merge into within as one sentence or separate and prioritize. Once you have that down, can you move on to your target audience persona research? Now, a lot of clients and leads come and ask me, Joyce, as a content marketer, do you actually have some magical tools hidden where you can just type in a keyword and it spits out your target audience persona research, listing all the desires and dreams and failures and struggles of your target audience? Now, that's absolutely not the case. The fact is, half of the process you can rely on tools and industry reports, but most of it is actually manual research. What that means is anybody can do it as long as you know where to look and invest your time and your effort. Now, you might be a small business owner, an entrepreneur, or just an individual considering to start your own business. The following 2 tips will be applicable to you when it comes to deciding who your target audiences are. First thing is, ask yourself if you started your business to solve a problem that you personally had. If the answer is yes, then you're likely one of your target audiences. Ask yourself, what are your desires? What are your pains? What are your dreams? And most importantly, what do you look for answers when you're searching online? What are the questions that you ask? And what value do you find highly informative and valuable for you in order to solve your own problem? The second tip is, think about those people who have already shown interest in your product or your services. If you haven't launched any product or services yet, think about who might be interested in your products and services. Zoom in on one of these people and really think about who they are. Where do they work? What do they do? How do they look for information? What social media platforms are they often on? And imagine that one ideal customer in your mind. Once you have that ready, then you can start using tools to conduct your target audience persona research. I usually start off by visiting answerthepublic.com, where I type in a keyword in relations to my industry and check out all the questions that people have. Then I pick out the ones which are more prominent and the ones that I have a unique answer to. I write all those down and then move on to BuzzSumo, where I also type in my industry related keyword and see what content performs the best. During the process, I cross-reference the information I found on these tools with the information I've written down as my target audience. There, I should be able to spot some common patterns and intriguing new insights where I can further do my research on. To put that into perspective and help you better understand the process, let's start with an example. Imagine your business sells supplement. For your target audience, you've based it on yourself and your desire is to lose weight. When you cross-reference and check it with BuzzSumo, you realize that people who are looking at content that is in relationship to supplement actually end up engaging a lot with dietary recommendations and recipes. With that being said, then you could add to your target audience persona that they're actually very considerate and wary about what they eat in order to become more healthy. Now, that example was quite straightforward. However, this is pretty much how the brain of a content marketer works. We use a lot of different data points and information consolidated, and we make educated assumptions in order to fulfill all the elements that we need in order to create a 360-degree target audience persona. But the process doesn't stop there. Once you're able to start and connect these dots together, what I do next is I use all these insights and information I have found and I go into forums. I look for relevant groups and I check out all the questions and value that these community members are providing. I see if that is able to justify all the learnings that I've gathered and prove that these are aspects of my target audience persona. As you can imagine, it's really about going down a whole rabbit hole. So even though everybody and anybody can do target audience persona research, it can take them a lot of time if they don't have the experience, which is why people like myself as a content marketer exist. We provide these as services for clients like you. Then it's simply a rinse and repeat process. I look at insights, I try and justify them with more research. I look for insights, I try to justify them with more research. It's until I actually fulfilled all of the elements that I have listed I must learn about within my target audience persona do I stop. And as you can imagine, this is a very, very important stage. So I spend the most time on this within creating a content strategy. By now, you should have deep understanding about your target audience persona and their preferences when it comes to content. Now is the time to move on to creating your content pillar. When it comes to creating your content pillar, it's really about creating that perfect Venn diagram, putting your brand messaging on one side as well as your target audience persona preferences on the other. Whatever aligns and is in the common ground in the middle is your jackpot. And that is exactly why I completely disagree when people actually start off with deciding what their content pillars are before they actually do the whole process of defining their brand messaging as well as their target audience persona research. What I do not advise is just to think about it as open-ended topics so broad that one of them is about education, the other one is about personal stories, and the next so on and so forth. That's really not the right way to craft your content pillars, regardless of what a lot of people share online as being the way they do it. If we were to think about content pillars as like pieces of furniture, it would not make a lot of sense to purchase your furniture before even having a house to put them in. Therefore, when you're creating content pillars, it's the same idea. You should always start with the house, which is your brand key messaging platform, before you progress through into thinking about the content topics that you should be investing in. When it comes to content pillars, usually 3 to 5 is sufficient, and within each of these content pillars, it should include a mix of the elements of educational, personal stories, so on and so forth, instead of using that as the open-ended topic for each of your content pillars. Take myself for an example. After I have researched about my target audience persona and aligned it with my brand key messaging platform, I ended up with 3 content pillars. One of them being called We're No Different, which is where I share my personal experiences, my entrepreneurial journey, and my intimate experiences of content marketing with others to show that we're not that different. Within that pillar are elements of educational content as well as personal stories. That pillar on its own is a very effective way to build awareness to allow my target audiences to learn about me. To be very honest with you, there is no set formula when it comes to creating and deciding what your content pillar should be. It's really based on puzzling out all of the assets, research, branding, key messaging that you have consolidated up to this stage. Of course, for a content marketer like me, there's a lot of things that come quite natural. But if you do have any questions, do feel free to leave a comment below or actually get in touch with me through the link in the description. Once you have your 3 to 5 content pillar topics decided, now is the time for you to flesh out all of the potential content subjects and content execution. If we were to go back to that supplement business example, let's just say one of the content pillars you have decided is about eating habits. Then all of the topics that you can flesh out may include things like recipes, eating suggestions, interviewing a dietary professional, videos about how you can cook a perfect meal for somebody struggling with a particular problem, so on and so forth. Write all of those down and don't limit yourself as to the practicality of it just yet. Now you should end up with separate lists of potential content angles based under each of your content pillar topics. Now, what you want to do is look at each list individually and think about what the best way they are in the format that they should be produced in. Let's just go back to that eating habit content pillar example for our imaginary supplement business. With that, you might say all of these things are best presented as videos. If that is the case, then your distribution channel for that content pillar might likely be Instagram Reels or YouTube videos. Now, of course, sometimes you might end up with a list that has contrasting subject titles that might be better off at different distribution channels. For somebody like me as a content marketer, my suggestion is to keep it simple. Allocate one distribution channel for one content pillar at a time in the beginning first, just so that you can actually test it out, keep it simple, and be able to spot content patterns much easier and to see what content pillar works the best in the beginning several months. Now, once you've allocated a distribution channel for each of your content pillars, what you want to do next is to set up your goals, your objectives, as well as your KPIs. Now, don't be frightened by the idea of setting up a metric or performance goal, because in order to create a content strategy, it won't be complete without it. It's very important for you to understand what your content is out to achieve and what measurements you can consider success by. Therefore, something as simple as raising the awareness of your brand can be an objective or a goal. In order to measure that, you might look at things like reach or views or traffic, depending on the distribution channel. But this is something that you must do in order to create a content strategy, or else all you're ending up with is a content plan. You're only planning for content and what content to create. A strategy will require you to set up these goals. Now, in order for you to easily tackle goal setting, what you can consider is the SMART framework, as well as going into the back end of your selected distribution channel platform and look at the analytic numbers that they are able to provide to you at the end of every single month. Use those to inspire what goals you want to set for your content strategy and to make sure that you're able to easily access these numbers when you're doing reviews and reports. Now, if you're a solopreneur or entrepreneur who's going to do content creation and the content execution by yourself, your content strategy is pretty much complete. However, if you're a small business owner and you need to delegate this document to somebody else who's going to write and create the content for you, you still have some more stages to go. Now, for every single content strategy I create for my clients, I then follow up with mock-ups. So I actually create example content based on each of the content pillars that's been recognized to showcase to my clients what expectations they can have, and also to be able to delegate it to outsourced service providers to provide and produce these content for them. These mock-up acts as the first stage of a template where they can actually start creating content and test the performances. Then they can easily improve and refine based on that and find out what the best flow it is for their content to succeed. The mockup section also comes with a slide on tone and manner so that it outlines exactly how the posts are supposed to sound like, what words the brand would use and what words the brand shouldn't use, what kind of feeling they should transpire to their target audiences through their content, and it makes a perfect guide for anybody to follow through when it comes to content creation. Now, an easy way for you to create a tone and manner slide is by listing out all the do's and don'ts, all the words that you want that person to use, all the words that you don't want them to use, all the things that you feel like is natural to the brand, and all the things that doesn't feel natural to the brand. Just break it down into 2 parts and you can easily consolidate them into a tone and manner guide. And last but not least, in my opinion, every content strategy should include a content funnel basic setup. What that means is looking at your content pillars, you should be able to recognize what type of content is best at attracting target audiences, nurturing target audiences, as well as prompting your target audiences into the consideration stage. Once you have that set up at the end of the content strategy, it really reinforces your goals, objectives, and KPIs and motivates you into understanding the bigger picture of creating content for your business. Indeed, we've covered a lot of information and a lot of grounds covering all of the sections that you should include within your content strategy that you can build yourself for your own business, which is why I've created a free downloadable just for you with the link in description below. You can use that as a template for you to walk through and puzzle in all of your brand key messaging, your KPIs, objectives, content pillars, so on and so forth. And of course, if you do have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment below, get in touch, and of course, subscribe and check out all of my other videos. I really treasure your support. I can't wait to see you all again soon.